Richard Trumka just showed up, the president of the AFL-CIO. And in fact, let me turn your microphone on here. Great to have you back with us.
Good to be back, Tom.
Thank you. Yeah, you got to kind of eat that mic, get right on top of it. So the AFL-CIO has, to the best of my knowledge, come out in support of what's going on with the Occupy Wall Street movements and these other, how would you describe the movements around the country?
Well, I think it's a grassroots coming together. The people are angry. They're fed up. They see no action being taken to create jobs. They see a Wall Street that destroyed tremendous amount of wealth, trillions of dollars of wealth in the country, that are now back to business as usual. CEOs got a 23% raise last year, and we have 25 million people out of work. And they said enough's enough. And they started demanding that Wall Street pay their fair share. And I think the vast majority of the American people agree with that notion. Unfortunately, because they're trying to make a living, a lot of them can't show up at those protests and at rallies and things like that. But those that can are giving voice to what millions of Americans feel every single moment of every day.
Absolutely. So the AFL-CIO is an institution. It's been around for a long time. I know that there are people in the movement, shall we say, reading the blogs and hearing, who are saying, stay away from institutions. We don't want to be co-opted. On the other hand, or maybe we should jump into these institutions and try to radicalize them or whatever. I don't know. But what are your thoughts on that?
Well, first of all, the AFL-CIO is an institution and a movement. You can argue.
Well said.
You could argue.
And a democratic, small d democratic institution.
Absolutely. You can argue at times we've been too much institution and not enough movement, and I've argued that myself. So we're trying to create a more of a movement, and coming together. We're coming together with all the progressive voices in the country, because this fight isn't just about collective bargaining or taking away union rights. This is a fight to silence the voice of every progressive out there. They do voter ID laws. Those ID laws disenfranchise seniors. They disenfranchise Latinos. They disenfranchise African American community. They go after students. They go after immigrants, trying to keep us quiet, keep us divided. But we're coming together now, and you're starting to see the outages of it. In Wisconsin, you saw people come together from the grassroots up to defend public employees. In Ohio, you see it. You're seeing it right now at Wall Street, because what you have there are people from all walks of life. You have union members, you have people that do small business, you have farmers, you have a little bit of everybody there. Students, particularly students that have the greatest energy, and in my opinion, it becomes infectious. I love them for it. You have everybody coming together to say enough's enough, that this country can do better. It can do better than having 1 out of every 3 Latino or African American child live in poverty. It can do better than have 25 million people without a full-time job. It can do better to have people having their pensions ripped away. We're the richest nation on the face of the earth. Its priorities, and I think they're speaking those priorities of the vast American, the large majority of Americans.
It seems like almost every other generation, about every 30, 35 years in America, we basically have a fundamental social revolution. I mean, you could start from 1776, and then Andrew Jackson ripping down the banks in 1828, and then the Civil War, Abraham Lincoln, and then the emergence of the progressive movement in the late 19th century, and leading to Teddy Roosevelt, and then the revolution of FDR. And then the 60s.
CIO in the 30s, where we brought non-skilled workers together for a better way of life.
Absolutely.
Collective bargaining built the middle class from the 40s on.
Yep.
You're absolutely right.
And it seems like we're at that moment right now.
I think you're absolutely right. I think people are saying enough is enough. It's time to have a different kind of America. They're trying to make us believe that we have to downscale the American dream, and we don't have to downscale the American dream. We want to upscale it, because it's a matter of priorities, and we have to change the priorities of the country.
One of the major messages that I'm getting out of corporate media is that it's a bunch of hippies hanging around having a good time. They're unemployed. They're just goofing off. They're young people. You can't take them seriously, blah-de-blah-de-blah. For those old of us not to remember the 60s and 70s, that was a period of time where the exact same message is put out by the establishment media, and Richard Nixon talking about his silent majority in support of him, and yet that movement produced, I mean, keep in mind, SDS was created in '64 with the Port Huron Statement, had nothing to do with war. It was about cutting poverty in half and enfranchising African Americans. And that happened within a decade. I mean, Lyndon Johnson literally cut poverty in half with the Great Society. And we ended the war. So there was a lot of social change that came out of that youth movement then. Are you hopeful that we will see social change come out of this youth movement now?
Absolutely, I am. First of all, probably a lot of those, the media that you talked about, the establishment media that's talking about those hippies, were probably those hippies 25, 30 years ago.
Well, some of them. I think some of them are so young that they don't have the institutional memory. I'm seeing these talking heads on TV.
Probably true, but I'm extremely hopeful. When you see this kind of energy, when you see this cross-section of America coming together, then you got to be hopeful. And look, for them to try to dismiss this movement by saying this is just a group of hippies, well, those hippies are saying the same thing that every American out there that I know of, whether they're seniors, African American, Latino, whether they work in an auto plant or a coal mine, or they teach, or they're a police officer, they're saying the same thing. Wall Street destroyed a tremendous amount of wealth. Corporate America has taken over this country, and it needs to come back to we the people.
Yeah, absolutely. And we the people is from the bottom up, and that's
exactly right.
And this is the thing that people don't realize about labor unions, is that they are democracies. You were elected by your members. You didn't just come up and say, "Hey, I'm Richard Trumka, I'm going to take over." No, and this concept of democracy is just so important, so very important.
You bet.
Richard Trumka, thank you so much for being with us.
Appreciate it, buddy.
Always great talking with you and having you on our program.